Hello and welcome to Plant CEO. In today's episode, I'd like to welcome Scott McCulloch, the co-founder and CEO of The Vegan Kind. Hi Scott, welcome to the show.
Hi Anant, how's things?
Yeah, good, thank you. How you been?
Yeah, very, very well. Yeah, there's a lot going on, as you can imagine, but we're coping amazingly well as a team, and really, really happy with the way we've handled the last few months, which have definitely had their challenges.
Yeah, it's interesting times for you, especially for online retailers, seeing a huge increase in demand, especially supermarkets like yourself and subscription boxes and direct-to-consumer companies. It's a really interesting space right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think obviously nobody really knew what was going to be the longer term impact of COVID-19, and that still remains the case. And obviously everybody's got to have a sort of cautious approach to the future. But at the same time, we can't hide from the fact that we were very fortunate, I suppose, in as such as food, drink, online, and with regards veganism, when COVID-19 was being largely attributed to animal related sources.
So it'd be great if you can take me back. I mean, you've got a really interesting career before you started this, especially with your background in small business banking. Do you think that really helped you a lot, that learning that you had with, talking to lots of small businesses and enterprises? And it'd be great to talk about your experience there.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, Karris and I, so me being a co-founder, Karris, business partner, wife, being the other co-founder, Karris and I probably always felt that we were, going to do something together in business. Both maybe had entrepreneurial traits or, progressive attitudes, just like thinking about what we could be doing, what more. I was in business banking for a number of years, RBS and then NatWest. So kind of always for like a decade had a portfolio of about, whether it was 400 to 1,000 customers, just depending on the customer size. And, I would be the sort of main contact at the bank. So over that 10-year period, I feel like I have been in every single business type you could possibly imagine, small, large, sole traders, limited companies, precision engineering, lawyers, hairdressers, bowling greens, clubs and society, everything you could possibly imagine, and for every possible need. I definitely feel that banking background gave me a real awareness of maybe the way some businesses are run poorly, and also the way that some businesses are run extremely well, and just seeing different cultures and sort of identifying different personas and types of people that would be running companies, and then seeing a lot of businesses fail and a lot of businesses flourish.
Did you notice any sort of personality traits within these businesses, especially with the owners, that help them to succeed?
A lot of businesses ride on their ability to identify and calculate risk. The founders will have learned how to trust their instinct, but at the same time, it's never a whim. It's always calculated, and then make positive moves forward based on your own sort of risk analysis and then sort of gut instinct. So That's something that I would say is common.
If you can take me back to the time where you actually had the idea of creating the concept of subscription boxes and also the supermarket then afterwards, how did you come up with that?
Yeah, so the subscription box idea, like the original concept of the Vegan Kind, was very much Karris. So this was back in like 2013. I was a meat eater back then. Karris was vegetarian. Karris had a YouTube channel, which you can't find anymore. She's deleted it, but it was sort of early YouTube influencer, so to speak, where she was doing a lot of makeup reviews, and she was receiving products through the post from people wanting her to review their products, and she used to discard a lot of the products that would come to her because they weren't cruelty free. So the channel very much gravitated towards becoming a cruelty-free makeup channel, and the sort of cruelty-free movement was, you know, growing rapidly at that point. A lot of people were becoming aware of the sort of torture and back end of the makeup industry with animal testing, and sort of during that whole process, being vegetarian, learning a lot about cruelty-free makeup and such like, Karris started kind of investigating veganism. Made me realise that I had choices. I'd never really sort of aligned myself massively to vegetarianism. For whatever reason, it just never resonated with me. I'd never considered whether I would eat the way Karris was eating. However, I was probably eating vegetarian half of my week. You know, Karris would make those meals at night or whatever. So I was kind of like probably in baby steps, getting somewhere. When Karris started investigating veganism, I found that a much more compelling route for me. Like, I understood it much more when I sort of realised that milk as a, you know, substance can come in its many forms, and you've got these 10 options over here that I'd never even considered having, and then this one here. And then when you learn about the sort of devastation of the back end process of sort of cow's milk or dairy, and then you realise you've got those 10 other options and you've never even tried them before. From that perspective, going vegan was more about not realising I had choices, and then when it became aware that I did have choices and I started tasting those choices and enjoying those choices, I felt I could never go back. And it was around about then that through Karris and reviewing Glossy Box, a sort of makeup box on a monthly basis, but rarely having cruelty-free products, and us coincidentally finding it that maybe it was we were finding it a bit challenging to go vegan. We were like, wow, like if we dovetail those two things together and create a box that would ultimately just make it easier to go vegan, then yeah, so the night Karris had that as an idea, like we set up the company that very night, set up the web, registered the web domain that night. We just came up with the name immediately, the tagline immediately, and from that moment forward, we just knew straight away that was something we were going to like dedicate our lives to, because we really fully believed in it. We'd both like committed to veganism very, very quickly. Like a lot of people, probably like yourself, once you make that connection, or once you have that decision-making process and you sort of, you know, become a bit confused as to why you didn't realize all these things earlier in life, it's never like you're going to go back. So yeah, we knew that was going to be the future.
You both switched at the same time in 2013.
Yeah.
But what was also quite interesting for me is that you didn't raise any money, and you've basically hustled really hard to achieve what you have done today. And only recently you've done a successful crowdfunding raise of 700K. So yeah, I mean that's amazing. And how do you now plan to use that investment that you've suddenly got hold of?
Yeah. So that's one of the things. I mean, just in terms of like, I guess kind of startup stories. You know, like anybody that's setting up a business, you have to be prepared to give it like 120% at all times. So for the first few years of the Vegan Kind, I was still employed. I moved on from RBS. I was in a sales role with another company, and Karris was still employed as a project manager at Santander. We just had our first child. So we were both in full-time jobs, had a child at home, you know, living in a 2-bed flat, but, you know, we're determined to get this idea off the ground. And, you know, we didn't have any more time than anyone else, than any other couple that are in full-time jobs and literally do not have any time. You know, you just don't have the time. But when you sort of made that committal to each other that you're gonna go, you know, put your all into this sort of dream, then you find the time. You realize that actually, you know, in the early stage of a business, it's really about momentum more than time. You know, so if you decide that you've got a name and you want to get a logo or whatever, you might send out a few inquiries to have a logo created, and that only takes like about 5 to 10 minutes to send an email. But by virtue of you then having 3 responses coming back, you've engaged in that dialogue, choose one, send another email to give it the okay. I'm like, okay, right, the logo's now moving. And then you're like, what else do we need to do? Right, we need to get a box manufacturer, send out a couple of inquiries. You're just waiting on stuff coming back to you. You're just creating momentum. And as long as you do something every single day, it can be in between appointments or on your lunch, you know, or first thing in the morning, or whilst having a bowl of cereal, you know, just keep something rolling every single day. And next thing you know, you build up something that you then can't stop. You know, you've got that momentum, you've got that traction, and, you know, you move forward and you've sort of created something for yourself. But yeah, through those initial stages, we didn't have any available cash. We just came home, got Casey to bed like as early as we could, and we would sit up, till midnight, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just as long as it took to get whatever done needed. And then at the weekends, I remember I used to be so excited to not have to do my work, because for the weekend we had 2 full days to crack on with the vegan kind. I remember really looking forward to the weekend just so I could work more. And that was it was like that for those first few years, so not only did we not have much time, we didn't really have much money, and pretty much everything the vegan kind was built upon was spare money that we had. That was our kind of hobby. We sort of like cut a lot of expenditure to other things and plowed it all into the vegan kind. So, and I think that's something that a lot of founders have had to do, but you need that passion, that drive, that determination to want to utilize your money in that way.
As a couple, you're both completely engrossed and full time. Do you have family time stuff where you're not talking about work? Do you have that separation, or is it actually quite difficult as a couple to manage that?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it'd be interesting to have my 8-year-old daughter here to find out if we talk about work too much. Probably. But yeah, in general, certainly now. I mean, the size we're at now, we've got over 30 employees, and there's a lot of responsibility has been passed to different people, and that's been the kind of the best bit of building the team over the last couple of years, is just seeing that development of our people and seeing people take on tasks and take ownership and responsibility of certain things. And it just every time somebody comes into the business and takes something off, Karris or I, or comes in and with fresh ideas, it's just an additional weight off of our shoulders. In one respect, it's good to have that happen, but then in the other respect, obviously you're getting more and more people coming in, and it gets more and more complex, and lines of communication and who reports to who and structures and all these things that you don't ever think about when you get your logo designed 7 years ago. So we've definitely we've found a way to build a fantastic and amazing team, but I don't know if we will ever stop talking about work at home. I think it probably is a bit of a pain point that we discuss it a wee bit too much, but we do make sure that we have time set aside and play games with the kids and such as best we can.
And so you're making a number of key hires coming up. I think you've announced some already to help you with this transition of growth. Can you talk about some of those hires?
Yeah, sure. So the first one that we did in this sort of wave, so to speak, or directly after our Seeders raise, was Kate, who came in as our financial director. So as a business, so my background after banking for 7 or 8 years was mainly in sales. So I've kind of got a strong desire to chase sales numbers, which is great. And I've always said that focusing on the sales is something that not everybody or not all businesses do, and it can lead to problems later on. Whereas for me, I've always felt like wherever we may be sort of inadequately structured within the business, we might not have the right skill sets in-house, as long as we could keep the sales plowing in, as long as we could really focus on driving those numbers and keep going in an upward trend, then it sort of maybe masks any shortfallings or shortcomings that you have in the business, until such time as you can then afford to do those recruitments structured enough to do it. So we never had an in-house financial director, and it became over time one of our biggest problems. We just couldn't rely on our own data. We didn't have enough people to sort of pick apart the numbers or do our forecasting accurately. Kate, who was the outgoing financial director for Rebel Kitchen, she's from Scotland, Kate, but she was commuting down to London a lot. We've collaborated and worked with Rebel Kitchen loads over the last few years anyway, and she's been off to a flying start and just gave us that financial acumen, that comfort at ground level that somebody's looking at the numbers on the daily and is sort of able to help us as we scale, because as we scale, as we get bigger, the sort of risks of getting things wrong get bigger. The amount of stock we're holding is huge.
I think you mentioned before it's 5,000 items now that you stock, right, on the stock side?
Yeah, there's about that. Yeah, so it's a lot of individual SKUs. Yeah.
You're hiring somebody on the brand side as well.
That's right. So we've got Craig coming in as a brand and marketing director. He'll work alongside / complement two existing members of staff that we've got. So we've Gabriella as our marketing executive. She's been with us for like just over a year now. And then about a month ago, we brought in Lauren who has come as a creative content designer. So with Gabriella as a marketing executive, Lauren as our creative content designer, and then Craig coming in as brand and marketing director, we're sort of building upon that full stack marketing aspect to the team, because not only do we want to grow the brand and the business and be marketing more and have more brand partnerships and collaborations and, you know, just a fuller feeling to the vegan kind for the brands that we work with or who come across us, and we definitely want that anyway. But also because of, you know, COVID-19 and such, like, we felt that was the one department of the business that we couldn't afford to not grow. You know, we need to be prepared for if there is a bit of a downturn or a recession or anything like that. We can't afford to then make cuts and sit back and rest on our laurels. On the contrary, if there was a downturn in sales, what we want to be able to be seen as is the go-to place for all the brands who will also be struggling. You know, a brand might want to get their products positioned more prominently on a supermarket or an Ocado, and they'll go to them and could be like, I don't even know, like I've heard one figure of however much a particular brand was paying Ocado to be in a certain space, and, you know, it was like a high six-figure sum, like 700 grand or whatever, you know. So you've got brands that will be, if there is a recession, if there's problems, that brands that are just looking to find that outlet where they can get something like affordable way to position their brand, and for us, that's the sort of position that we think we'll be in. The amount of traffic that we're generating just now is absolutely huge. It's nowhere near an Ocado or a Tesco, but we're miles away from any of our independent competitors. So we sit in a sort of neat sweet spot in the middle that, you know, we make a lucrative sort of commercially viable marketing opportunity for any brands that want to be positioned on our homepage or want to be in our email list or want to be featured in our socials. We'll be able to make that cost effective, but again, it's a new income stream, new revenue stream for us, and really just strengthens those sort of brand to brand partnerships that we should and will have in the future.
Yeah, I see more retailers getting into that space where they invest more on the brand marketing side. Is something that I'm helping Undertone do at the moment as well. So it's like it's super interesting, that area. Tell me about some of the success. You know, you're driving the sales numbers, but you're also seeing really good repeat subscriptions. You're delivering many boxes of your subscription, but also a whole load more orders. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I mean, the subscription box numbers, to start with them, I mean, we somebody asked me this on the Cedars post investment page just yesterday, just asking, you know, what are the numbers like? So just specifically to talk about the monthly recurring revenue, the MRR stat, which is what everybody kind of, you know, bases your success on as a subscription box company. So our MRR, our monthly recurring revenue in December 19, so just 6 months ago, was £103,000. So that's the recurring revenue had grown to a level of £100,000 a month, and that had taken six and a half years to get to that point. So you're you're bringing customers on, and then you're churning customers, and you're trying to make sure you've got a net add every month to continue growing. You know, we have seasonal net ads where we've got a really big net ad, loads, a few people left, but loads came on, and you got a really high net ad. And then some months we have a net loss, but annually over the year we've always grown and grown and grown to the point where about 100 grand a month was our MRR. In June this month, our MRR will be £150,000. So to go from 100 grand, which took 6.5 years to get to 150 grand in a matter of a few months, I mean, that just blows our mind, the amount of growth that we've seen in those subscription boxes. But then the supermarket side of things, again, through COVID-19, the way that we chose to operate was to retain our next day delivery offering. So we saw immediately a lot of brands, obviously the supermarkets was well known that they weren't, you know, getting orders out for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, long lead times. They were sort of crumbling inside to cope with the demand, you know, as we were as well. However, we made the call that we would continue growing the staff numbers and operationally getting more and more efficient. But what we started doing was just cutting the website when we'd hit a certain amount of orders, so that we could fulfill all of the orders we had that day on a next day delivery service. We would then shut the website down and say, sorry, we're closed in order to process your orders. The website will be back live again at 8 o'clock tonight. And then anybody that hit the website during that closed period, what we found was all they were doing was setting a reminder and then coming back to the website at 8 o'clock that night, and then we would just have a flood of sales again. So it meant that we could still give the customers what they want, retain our USP of next day delivery, and we felt that we were, by doing that, still taking on as much sales as we humanly possibly could cope with anyway, and then not annoying all of our customers by sending them an email saying, thanks for your order you placed last Monday. We estimate we will get it to you on the 27th, but that may change. I was tracking what everybody else was doing.
Right.
And wild emails coming out just saying, like, we're not sure when we're going to get to your order, but it will definitely be this month and stuff like that. So we operated in a way that we felt like really, protected our integrity. Customers loved that we were doing it. We were really just clear and transparent.
It's really important to give them that time of like when they can come back, because otherwise it's just like you're wasting the time of the customer to keep checking, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, which products are really doing well for you right now?
So this isn't bacon. Those guys have done phenomenally well with that product, but we're buying like. We basically can't buy enough of that, which is, we'll obviously come on to that. They're moving warehouse, but we buy, I don't know, like a 7-foot pallet of bacon arrive, and just it seems to be stripped bare, before they can get another one to us. We're managing really well to stay stocked, but it feels like we cannot have enough of that. Also Beyond Meat, Meatless Farm, all cheeses. Like I think normal. If you go to the supermarket, you maybe see like a couple of vegan cheeses, whereas we've got like about 120, and lots more coming on. So yeah, those are the main, and then obviously chocolate as well. Like I think everybody's a bit down, so everybody needs a bit of chocolate now.
Yeah, a good vegan chocolate as well.
Yeah.
And to your warehouse now. So you've just invested in a huge warehouse now to cope with all this, for you to stock all the inventory. So you're also moving offices into that warehouse as well. So you're going to have all this capacity now, which is brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. We're the warehouse that we're moving to is about 3 times the size of the one we're in. So it's a real big leap up, but it's also a sort of must-have requirement for us continuing to grow the business. We cannot physically grow the business in the warehouse we're in anymore. We can't add any more new lines. We can't safely have any more new staff. We can't take any more orders. We're already opening at 7 in the morning and running 2 teams and finishing at 11 o'clock at night. We're dispatching orders 7 days a week. So we're like next day delivery 7 days a week. And that's this building. That's this finite space that that's what we can do. And we're doing it every single day. So while that's absolutely amazing, and while I'm really pleased that operationally we found a way to get to this level and cope and now do it safely, and we're all really happy with the way things are going. This is meant to be our quietest spell, May, June, July, and August, when it's summer months. So when we then hit September, October, and things start ramping back up again, we know we will seasonally get much busier. So if we stay in this warehouse, we will hit our sort of golden spell, and nothing will really change for us, other than we'll turn the website off more frequently. We'll have to turn the website off again because we just cannot physically do any more in this building. So as someone who's really enjoyed growing the vegan kind over the last 7 years, the thought of spending 6 months actually having to dial everything back down again just completely goes against the grain. And the solution is that we move.
Tell me a little bit about your strategy for those events.
Yeah, so for us, it kind of, like you say, kind of kicks off with Halloween, really. So as soon as 1st of October hits, we'll get all that stock in and sort of spookify up the vegan kind. We usually change all of our kind of like social icons and the banners on the supermarket, cobwebs everywhere. That really just, that is the sort of beginning of the seasons starting again, so to speak, because through the summer there isn't actually anything to go at. The last seasonal thing that you had was Easter, and then the next seasonal thing is really Halloween, and in between that there's loads of makeshift events. You'll have to, anybody in retail, that's why you see on a billboard of the summer sizzler campaign. It's just trying to think of anything to sort of from a marketing perspective, or picking up on the weather maybe. But once you hit Halloween, for us, we are Halloween 31st of October obviously, and then the 1st of November is World Vegan Day, which is also the vegan kind's birthday. So
that's happy.
So we turn 8 on World Vegan Day, and then November is also World Vegan Month. And then at the end of November, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then straight into December for Christmas, and then Veganuary, which we partner with heavily every single year, and then obviously into Valentine's, and then back to Easter again. So it seems like I'm kind of wishing my life away, but that's what happens, and it's a very, very busy 5-6 month spell. And if we do nothing now, we will hit that spell and just nothing will change. We will be as busy as we are right now and have completely missed the opportunity to capitalize on it. And so therefore we relocate.
Yeah. And tell me about your customers. You must have learnt a lot over these last few years in terms of like who they are, what sort of products they like. Can you tell me a bit about, your work that you've done to analyze who your customers are?
Yeah, so we're like about 80% female, and the main age bracket is like 24 to 34, and predominantly vegan. However, we do still have, we see comments regularly from people that say, I'm not vegan, but I buy from you every month or whatever. So, I guess class those people as flexitarian. But for us going forward, the sort of marketing opportunity, so to speak, is the fact that there's a lot of stats. I think we had one in our pitch deck for Seeders saying that I think it's like 8 out of 10 plant-based products in the UK are bought by meat eaters. So whilst we've really captivated the vegan audience, and that's predominantly who our customers are, the target audience, the sort of larger slice of the pie are people who at the moment are maybe just choosing to eat vegan once or twice a week, or are just open to it, where the word vegan used to have negative connotations, and people used to think, oh my god, that's something I could never do, I wouldn't want to do that, I'm definitely not vegan. I think on the opposite, like a lot of people nowadays either wear it as a badge of pride, they're really, really proud that they're vegan, or if they're not vegan, they still like to be able to even say, no, I'm not, I mean, I could never do it. Yes, you definitely could, but I could never do it, but I do eat vegan once a week, I like to have a vegan meal on a Sunday or whatever. And there's more and more of that type of a sort of demographic appearing, and that's where we aim to spend a lot of the next couple of years really driving down into that kind of target market. Obviously, our overall hope is that when someone gets a foot on that path, once a week vegan or meat free, whatever, gets a foot on that path, then we as a business are more of a sort of lifestyle approach to helping people understand that there's nothing weird about it, it's only positive, and that the community you then become a part of, the health benefits you'll experience, the sort of more altruistic feeling that you have, that you're just more in sort of tune with what I personally think is the sort of evolution of humanity. I don't think that people look at, I don't look at veganism as specifically to do with whether you did it because you care for animals, or specifically did it because you've got health conditions, or specifically did it because you can't handle the state and the environment. I see all of those things, but for me, the bigger picture here is all of that is coming together. And, in the fullness of time, when we look back, this is just like an evolutionary process that makes sense in every single way. So I do think that people that are coming across veganism but aren't vegan right now, which is the largest proportion of the UK, is our target market. It's probably a bit grand, but...
So how do you think you'll change your marketing messages? I guess it's one for Craig once he starts. But do you have some initial thoughts around how you can appeal to that audience now?
So it's a difficult one. So that's something we're really going to need to sit down and put some thought into it, because it's for example, like on Facebook ads, it's very, very easy to go and target people that specifically like vegan pages or vegan as an interest. However, if you're trying to identify, if you're trying to position, an advert to an audience that's not already vegan or hasn't shown an interest in any sort of plant-based living elements, then getting the messaging right to try and appeal to that person is very, very difficult, because it depends what demographic you're talking about at that point. Are you talking about, if we talk about vegetarians, that's one that's quite easy to do for us. Those adverts targeting vegetarians have performed really well in the last year or so, whereas previously they hadn't done so well, because I guess people being vegetarian you can look at as a stopgap or sort of on the path towards veganism. That's the more sort of normalized path to veganism in years gone by. However, the vast majority of people that go vegan now are actually, they sort of skip vegetarianism out. Certainly I know I did. And I was meat eater straight to vegan. So if you then try and target a meat eater with vegan messaging, what have you latched onto to try and appeal to them? Is it something else, or have you identified that they're a football lover, or have you identified that they're into gardening, or what other thing are you positioning? Because if you just randomly position this message, you should go vegan or try these products. It's difficult to get the messaging right. So we need to sit down and look at different user groups, specifically choose the messaging to sort of captivate those user groups, and then remarket to them after with sort of fresh messaging along that sort of train of thought. But it's an exciting part of.
It's super interesting to figure that out.
Yeah, definitely.
I think there's definitely some companies that are doing that really well on the product side, actually. And not to isolate any sort of groups, I think is a really good strategy.
Yeah, I think as well, the one thing that we're starting to move more into is a brand awareness marketing. So at the moment, like with the size of business that we have historically been, we're very careful where we spend our money, and we need to make sure that when we go and spend our money, that we're seeing the right return on investment, that we, cost per acquisition is of a right level, and as soon as it goes above that, we're like, cut that ad, change the graphic up or the messaging. But with brand awareness marketing, you're not specifically targeting or tracking the result you'll get at the back end. You're not saying that you're going to go and spend all this money and get a conversion at £4. You're basically just putting money into brand awareness, and until you've done something like a raise, or until you've got capital in the bank. I remember the first time it sort of explained to me, I was like, so I'm not going to see at the back end of this like how much we've had on our money. I was like, no, I think I'll pass on that. But now that we've reached such a size that we kind of feel that we're known within the vegan scene, and that vegan scene is growing, we kind of feel that we can to a degree rely on a bit of our own brand strength and the work that we've done up to this point to help continue growing within the vegan sector. But we then need to start looking outside of that vegan sector and bringing in new users and different demographics. But we are doing bits of that as well. We're launching a vegan recipe site coming up soon. We're doing daily, we've got vegan kind news, so we're doing like vegan news posts every single day. And again, these are just different avenues to be pulling in people from different channels or different audiences. TikTok advertising as well, where we're going to be launching 5 TikTok ads this Friday, just to kind of test that market out and see what we get back from it.
As the supermarkets grow, they start to bring like clothing or either lifestyle products.
Yeah. So we do. So we've got a lot of like toiletries, makeup, household, huge book collection, clothing, accessories. I think one of the things when we move to this new warehouse, we'll have a lot more locations, a lot more shelving space. So we've got I don't know how many new different brands and products already earmarked. So although we've got a huge inventory at the moment, when we move to this new space, I mean, it's in order to grow the inventory. We already know that we've got, that when people come to the Vegan Cane supermarket at first, the most common sort of comment we see in all our reviews is like, wow, I just couldn't believe the sheer amount of stuff you've got. And obviously not having to check any labels to see if it's vegan or not. It just removes that negative aspect of doing your shopping, going on about checking, no, it's not vegan, oh well, I can't have that. You just come, everything's vegan, forget about whether it is or not, and plow in and find what you want. But even though we've already got 5,000 products, we know that we can easily add like 2,000-3,000 further lines to our inventory, and we'll then get to a point whereby, I mean, we're not gonna grow fill this new warehouse and then go, oh, let's move again. This is a huge move for us. We'll be moving there and staying. But what we'll then start to do is, what a lot of supermarkets do is become maybe a bit more cautious about the brands that we do list, or maybe a bit more ruthless about a brand or a product's sales stats and delist if things aren't quite going to plan, or see what we can do to try and stimulate sales. So yeah.
Yeah. So what's your long-term vision now of the company, and who would you see as, and if you're thinking that way, as a future acquirer as you start to mature as a business?
Yeah, so just now we're trying to probably grow into, I would say, the new shoes that we've found is this larger inflated size of a business. So we've obviously, when it started out, it was just Karris and I, and then bit by bit you add one or two staff, and moved warehouse a couple of times, and we now truly are like, right now we're now an organization. We've got enough people at a leadership level. We've got enough people like sort of forming at a kind of mid-tier level. We've got over 30 staff. We're moving into a warehouse which is above and beyond any of our wildest expectations. And it's really about spending the next year to ensure that the hierarchy is right within the organisation, that there's a strong culture forming, which there already is a phenomenal culture of the vegan kind. I mean, for starters, not that you don't have to be vegan to work here, but everybody's vegan. So like everybody is on a mission. We're all very unified in everything that we do. And so for the next year, it's really just about taking this enforced growth that we've had over a 2-month period. It's like been hit over the head with a mallet. It's just been a sort of crazy time, but we need to take another year now to settle into these new roles, really define that hierarchy, and make the operational improvements that we know we will make in this new warehouse that will really feed down through the numbers into an improved GP, which will in turn give us a better valuation. And in the shorter term, we do estimate that we will raise money again. So for the next year, the kind of vision is really just to kind of refine down what we're doing, strengthen as a team, become operationally efficient in this new warehouse, grow our inventory, and be the clear, well, we already are, but like continue being that clear leader in terms of 100% online vegan supermarket and e-commerce brand. Beyond that, though, if you're asking acquisition wise, with this new warehouse should allow us to turn over 3 to 4 times what we're already doing in here. So there's a lot of growth potential simply by making this move, but it won't come easy. Like I was saying, we're going to have to find new users. We have to soak in new audiences. We have to start thinking really creatively about our marketing. We have to strengthen all of our brand-to-brand partnerships. We need to be known as that go-to place. So when the hottest new vegan product launches in California, when they're thinking about coming to the UK, it's like, got to go to the vegan kind. And that already, we're already making those sorts of noises, but we really firm up on that and become that. But once we can be seen as like a brand ally to any new emerging brands, regardless of their size, because a lot of smaller brands know and they'll come to us definitely, but a lot of bigger ones were maybe not necessarily on their radar. So we've got a lot of work to do to sort of grow up to that size, so that globally people recognise that when you're coming to the UK, they talk about us in line with Ocado or Holland & Barrett, or Tesco's or Asda or such like. Obviously, we will always be a minnow by comparison, but the weight of our audience, the fact that we're 100% vegan, and the fact that we've got a fairly dedicated crowd behind us and a very engaged audience, then I think that we become a lucrative acquisition for the likes of a Holland & Barrett or an Ocado or a Tesco. Ultimately, it's likely going to be someone else who's in food and drink distribution and has recognised that the vegan market has now by this point been blowing up for 15 years, and maybe they've not quite caught up with it, and they're then in a situation whereby they're looking to strengthen their own name within the vegan field. But the thing that we're keen for that to happen it sort of slightly grates us as well when we think about that, because when we're dealing with investors, like, you're always asked that question. So what are you can do about an exit? What's your exit plan? You know, we wouldn't set up the business to exit. You know, we set up the business to just sort of do a bit and help everybody go vegan, and you know, and but now we realise that that's like part of the conversation. You have to be able to talk about what your exit is going to be. So, but at the same time, you know, we're always like, well, what if somebody wants to buy us out? But like, what if it was to be a large supermarket and they're almost like looking to buy us out, but they're still going to continue as being one of the largest butchers in the UK? Because that's ultimately, you know, the supermarkets will like be the biggest customers of abattoirs, you know, and so there's part of it you say as well, it's amazing if we get to that point and a supermarket values veganism so much that they want to buy the vegan kind, that, you know, we could stay close with them and help them with that plan of attack to grow veganism. But then we're all the sort of negative aspect to it, or the kind of cautious part of me thinks, well, what if they're doing that to dilute veganism? You know, and the strength that we've got as a company is led by the fact that we're here and we're pushing this movement. And if we did end up selling out to the wrong person, would they dilute what the vegan kind has become down in order to sort of quieten the voices? I don't know, but certainly from an exit
selling point of view, too early, right? Is the other one,
Yeah. There's that.
You're still riding on the curve of the trends right now, and people making healthier choices. I would say, you know, if you plan to raise again in the future, do you see that opening up opportunities for you?
Or actually, yeah. I mean, we've thought a lot about that. I mean, certainly with the subscription boxes, you know, it's probably very franchisable. We've never gone down that route. But yeah, we definitely think we could do that. But certainly with the supermarket, one sort of plan that's being worked on at the moment is us shipping to the East Coast of America on a next day delivery service. So the main roadblock with us doing that is having the volumetrics of all of our products in the system, because when you start shipping overseas like that, then, you know, if it's a box of chocolate bars, it'll, you know, fit in a wee small box. But if somebody bought the same weight of crisps, the box is that size, and you know, the way that all the couriers charge is based on the volumetrics of it, and the only way we can calculate the volumetrics of our order is for our system to know the weight, length, breadth, height of every single item that we stock. We've always recorded the weight of each product, but we've never had a need to specifically record the dimensions of it. But now we do have that need. We've got that need anyway, just when we move to this new warehouse, just so that we can be more accurate in the size of box that did get dispatched with that order. But once we do get the volumetrics in of every single item, our plan is to set up an expansion site. We'll remove all of the products that we can't ship to America, such as chilled and aerosols and such like, and then we'll have like the vegankind.us, and, you know, specifically target the East Coast, you know, New York, Florida, and saying that, you know, do you want UK and European products on a next day delivery service? And once we can calculate those volumetrics at checkout, that's where we can accurately charge the right amount of money. At the moment, if we're sort of, when we don't have those volumetrics in the system, you're gambling on getting that right. But somebody could buy a kilogram of chocolate bars, and, you know, we could go and charge them $9.99 at checkout. But if they go and buy a kilogram of crisps and it goes in a massive box, we would charge them $9.99, and it would cost us $99.99 sort of thing. So you know, it's that particular element. But that's a big dream, really. I really like the idea of that kind of soft approach of being in America with an Americanized website, specifically targeting the areas that we can get on a next day delivery service with all the products that they otherwise cannot get.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And then I guess as you start to, you know, grow that, you could have a local, you know, fulfillment stroke warehouse in that market where you know that they're buying regularly these products, so then you don't have to ship it or, you know, pay those higher costs. Which
that's exactly it. Yeah, that's the wider dream of when I want to move to New York. But
yeah, very cool. All right, great, fantastic. So yeah, thank you very much for coming on the show, and yeah, lots of great stuff you're riding at the moment. So congrats, and thanks again. And yeah, if you want to hear more from other companies in this space, please do subscribe to the channel to hear the updates. But for now, thank you very much, Scott, and best of luck.
All right, cheers, man.
Yeah, cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.